things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Hello. Hello. This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Are ghosts real? we had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave hidden high up in the beautifully snow-covered peaks of the Idaho mountains. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. A year ago tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, will be our 1-year anniversary, our birthday here on the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. That's right. And since that time, we've grown a whole lot. But our very first show was about cryptids. So to keep that honor alive, and since tomorrow night we're doing the birthday party, tonight we're going to discuss cryptids, but a little different than that first episode. We're going to discuss the cryptids of the Congo. All that wooded area, all that space, and all that area unexplored. There's no telling what could still be there. We haven't explored the depths of our oceans, and we haven't explored the depths of all of our forests. And there's no telling what might be hiding inside. We're going to discuss that tonight, Wednesday, May 12th, 2021, on the DarkWolf's Den Show. But first, today in history. This Today in History is actually pretty awesome. On this day in 1908, wireless radio broadcasting is patented by Nathan B. Stubblefield. What makes it possible for us to talk to you guys every single week, wireless radio broadcasting. If not for that, I couldn't have this amazing show that I've had for literally the last year now. And it's thanks to you guys that I'm able to keep going. But the first radio wireless broadcasting system is patented by Nathan B. Stubblefield on this day in 1908. And that is today's... I said that is today's... Oh, sorry. Are you good? Good? We solid? Are you good? Can you do this? I just need you to do your piece. Can you do it? I'm good, man. Let's do this. All right, here we go. Really? Just do the thing. Today in history. How was that? I swear you just can't clone good help anymore, right? I mean, you didn't hear that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show again for Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. And I gotta take a moment before we get started, and I do apologize, but I would like to say I dedicate these shows tonight and tomorrow in honor of my best friend, Christina Michelle Bird, who passed away exactly 1 year ago today. She was my best friend from childhood, a person that was that one. You guys have heard me talk about her before. The one that just literally the other half of my soul. She really was the world to me. That one confidant, that one person that no matter what, we had that ESP connection, just that really really closeness. That one best friend. You all know what I'm talking about. Anyway. I lost her a year ago today, and I think about her a lot doing these shows. She's really been the inspiration for a lot of these shows and kept me going. She was able to hear the pilot episode before we were able to air it. And after that, she passed away, unfortunately, like I said. But she did get to hear that, and she's been the inspiration a lot for me going forward and doing these episodes. So it's in her honor and in her memory that I dedicate this birthday weekend, this celebration, because the last thing she would want is for me to be sad or crying, and she would be very upset if she's seen me doing either one right now. She would expect us to be partying, and that's what we're going to do this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to party. That's right. We're going to have a great time. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the cryptids of the Congo. A year ago, like I said earlier, we started the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. A year ago tomorrow, the pilot episode did air. And it was a episode that was, well, it didn't age well, let's say that. But it was about cryptids. And I figured instead of going over the same old stuff, we would do a different twist on the cryptids. We would do a cryptids of the Congo, because apparently the Congo has a large amount of cryptid sightings, interestingly enough. More so than even I knew about until I ran across these case files. So, would you believe there's possibly dinosaurs in the Congo? Would you believe that? I actually had a hard time believing it either, but there have been some eyewitness sightings. We'll get to that story here in a minute. There's many stories of eyewitness sightings of creatures that science says cannot and should not exist. These are called cryptid creatures. Now, the gorilla, a creature we all know. We've all heard of the gorilla. Up until 1902, the gorilla was considered a cryptid creature. I found that out on the research for the first episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show. A year ago, I found that out. That's actually a really amazing fact to me. Or the Komodo Dragon. There were people, scientists, well-respected scientists of their time, that said that the Komodo Dragon just could not exist. There could not be a lizard that would reach that size. That's just not possible. However, we all now know the Komodo Dragon is a very, very real creature, along with the gorilla and a number of other creatures that at one point in time, scientists said that just could not exist. It just can't be. However, we now know them to be more than real. And if that has happened as many times as it has, and trust me, it's happened a many number of times, and we're still finding creatures in the depths of our ocean that we've never ever seen before. Who's to say that there are creatures in our woodlands that we've never seen before? We all know about Bigfoot, right? We all have heard of the Bigfoot stories across the world, from the mountains and the Yeti and the Bigfoots of the Pacific Northwest, or the skunk ape of Florida. There's so many different versions of the Bigfoot. People say, well, there's only one or two of them. No, there seems to be a large variety of these creatures for whatever reason. And, you know, there has to be a certain number of population for them to exist, but then again, we all know, in the words of the great Howie Mandel in Jurassic Park, nature finds a way. And that is a line that has been more than true in nature. Nature does seem to find a way. If it wants the population to grow, it can do things to make that population grow. It's funny how many little tricks nature has up its sleeve. But what about other creatures? Creatures like dinosaurs, creatures that were supposed to be dead and gone. Perhaps they're not as dead and gone as we thought, like the creature called Mokele. And here to tell us about that creature and the many creatures of the Congo this evening is a YouTube channel that I watch all the time. I would not plug a single YouTube channel that I don't personally enjoy, and I've never even met this guy, never talked to him, but I love his work. So his name is Paranormal Rising over on YouTube. If you enjoy the stuff here, definitely go check his channel out. He does a lot of time slip and time glitch stories, so if you enjoy those, that's right up your alley. Go check him out. Once again, Paranormal Rising from YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, going to tell us tonight about the cryptids of the Congo.
The Moko Membe is probably one of the most infamous dinosaurs to allegedly roam the forests of Central Africa and the Congo. In other places outside of the Congo, and in countries such as Cameroon and Gabon, there have been reports of an animal with a long neck, long tail, and rounded-shaped tracks with 3 claws. The closest known animal with these kinds of characteristics is a sauropod dinosaur.
So when he says sauropod, think of like a brontosaurus or one of these creatures with a really long neck, like the ancestor of the giraffe, right? But here's the really, really intriguing part of these case files.
When locals who've run into this Mokele Membe are told to draw what they've seen in the dirt or in the sand, they often draw pictures of what looks like a sauropod dinosaur.
It's funny that all the witnesses that have claimed to see this draw the same thing, this long-necked brontosaurus-type creature.
Which is very intriguing since most of these people have no concept of what dinosaurs were and have never seen anything in regards to a sauropod dinosaur or anything similar before.
So you're talking about tribes people who don't even have a concept of dinosaur, who have no Western idea what a dinosaur would be, yet they're claiming that what they've seen in the jungle, what they're drawing, what they're telling people they have eyewitnessed, is nothing short of a dinosaur. But it's not the only dinosaur that's actually been reported in the Congo. Would you believe there's been a T-Rex reported? That's right.
Is it possible that some kind of a theropod dinosaur survived from ancient times, millions of years ago, into the modern world? Well, according to witnesses in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Kazi Rex is just that. It is some kind of a surviving relative of a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yep, you heard that right. I was not even kidding. They have claimed to have seen the surviving version of a T-Rex.
Or a similar creature.
Okay, fair enough. Or a similar creature.
In the year 1932, an experienced Swedish hunter named John Johnson wanted to hunt a large animal in the African Congo. So he and his servant left their camp. They crossed the swamp until they finally reached the savanna in the Kazi Valley, which seemed isolated as there were no large animals anywhere to be seen. That was until the servant cried out in excitement that he had seen 2 large creatures, possibly elephants. So Johnson got his firearm ready. But as they approached the area, something seemed off. About 44 meters away, there was something in the underbrush stalking those 2 elephants, and it suddenly jumped out. The servant dropped into the undergrowth while Johnson, paralyzed, changed his aim and decided to shoot this bizarre-looking creature. He shot the creature 3 times and was only able to hit it once, on the back. The creature then backed off and left the area.
Now, I find this intriguing. If they were making it up, I assume they would say, the bullet bounced off and we don't know what happened. But it's kind of a little more real when they say, it hit it once and it went ahead and backed off. So, it just adds a little credence to the story is all I'm saying.
Johnson raised his servant, and they both decided to head back to camp. But first they had to cross the swamp again. And while they were halfway crossing the swamp, they heard a splash in the water and thought that it might be crocodiles. So they looked everywhere.
It turns out that their meeting on the savannah would not be their last meeting after all.
Until they saw 22 meters away the same creature that they had seen earlier in the savannah. This creature was then seen tearing the hump off the back of the rhinoceros.
Now, you gotta be a pretty big creature to be tearing the hump off the back of a rhinoceros.
And with one bite, it was able to tear off its entire leg. Johnson's servant ran terrified while Johnson stayed there. He immediately thought about shooting this mysterious creature, but remembered how terrified the servant had been. So he decided not to do that, and instead got his camera to take a picture. But upon clicking the camera, it fell out of his hands and quickly sank into the lake.
Well, at least you got to give him credit for trying to take the picture. It failed horribly, but at least he tried.
While the rhinoceros body was floating in a pool of blood. After arriving at the camp, Johnson and his assistant were obviously shaken. He said that it was reddish in color with blackish colored stripes, and he said it had a long snout and numerous teeth. He also said that it was long, about 43 feet long, or 13 meters, and was a Tyrannosaurus. Later on, at the beginning of 1933, a group of men that was made up of 5 skilled hunters returned to the Kazi Valley to hunt for this so-called Kazi Rex, as it was dubbed by the local newspaper.
So this was such a big deal that it actually got written about in the newspaper.
They arrived in the Kazi Valley and passed through the same swamp where Johnson had spent time the previous year. And one of the hunters was frightened to see a reddish tail sink into the lake, and everybody thought that it was some kind of a snake like an anaconda, until the atmosphere in the area became very tense. They readied their firearms, but were surprised by a wave of water that fell on them from the left side. The reddish tail had left the marsh violently and hit one of the hunters, who fell into the water. The other 4 hunters immediately began shooting this reddish submerged mass, but they saw nothing, only waves of water that dispersed through the surface. The fallen man with his broken arm had gotten up and tried to reach the other hunters, and then there was a giant roar that came from underneath the water, and they moved as fast as possible, but their path was hindered by a giant creature that came onto their right side, and that was still submerged on their left side. The hunters had hidden themselves in rocks, and they left the area soon after.
Well, I don't know if the second team of explorers seen the T-Rex or not, but they definitely seen something that they couldn't explain, and it definitely scared the ever-loving life out of them, right? Another scary creature that I personally have encountered, as you guys know if you've listened to the show over the last year, is the Chupacabra. And there's a lot of Chupacabra across Puerto Rico and Texas and even into Tennessee. But would you believe that the Congo has their own version of the Chupacabra? Check this out.
One of the more frightening creatures that we saw and had to put on this list was one of a blood-sucking creature called the Mamba Mutu. This creature sounds like it's similar to the Chupacabra, however it is much larger, with reports saying that the size of the creature is more relatable to that of a manatee or an otter, or some other large beast from the ocean, as opposed to a small goat sucker.
And I can tell you what I personally seen with my own 2 eyes was not a big gargantuan creature. It was a small creature, a small goat sucker, if you will.
The Mamba Mutu is said to be a very dangerous creature to human beings, and has been seen in and around the area of Lake Tanganyika, located in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and it is said to have arms similar to that of a lobster or a crab, and a fish-like tail. However, the head of this creature is said to be very humanoid in appearance. Natives from the Congo stated that the Mamba Mutu feeds on the blood of the youth, or the blood of children.
So the head of a crab and the tail of a fish. That sounds like one ugly creature, right? Definitely not something that I would want to run into in the middle of the night in the ocean, or the middle of the day in the ocean for that matter, right? But there's a lot of crazy creatures in the Congo. Say that 3 times fast. And they don't all have to be like crazy looking and ugly and crazy sounding. Some of them could just be creatures that are claimed to exist that just science says does not exist. Because remember, that is the definition of a cryptid, right? Species of something that science refuses to accept or acknowledge the existence thereof. So I would guess that there would be a number of creatures, even regular style creatures or species of creatures that we already know that would be qualified as cryptids because science does not recognize them. The next one on our list would be a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
The water elephant. These animals are said to be semi-aquatic relatives of the great African elephant. And the water elephant is described as being very oddly shaped and not having any tusks at all like other elephants, and lives most of its life in deep dark waters, presumably feeding on aquatic plants and only rarely leaving the water at any time. The first sighting of this creature came in the early 20th century from a French explorer.
So personally, I would call a manatee a water elephant, but of course that's not what we're talking about, because a manatee does not leave the water, right? This thing somehow leaves the water every now and then and survives on land. A large elephant-sized creature.
Who reported seeing a group of 2 to 2.5 meter tall elephant-like creatures in what is now the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The techie natives of the area told this French explorer that this animal was a very rare creature that was hardly seen by human beings and spent the entire day in water and only came out at night to graze.
Only comes out at night. Sounds like my kind of creature.
This mysterious creature, which the locals refer to as a water elephant that only came out during the night, is most closely relatable to a creature known as the Ethereum. This creature, the Ethereum, was said to exist on the Earth between 35 and 37 million years ago.
Now, a land animal, I will take the argument that possibly they would have been wiped out a little more easily, but an animal that lives under the water, that's much more likely to survive, in my opinion, whether it be a flood or whatever the catastrophe may be. The other creatures that would have a better chance of surviving would be those that took to the air, like the thunderbirds that have been reported by the Indians in the southwest of the USA, or even the pterodactyls that have been reported in the Congo. That's right, you heard me right. Pterodactyls have been reported in the Congo.
The Kongomados are large pterosaur or pterodactyl-like animals or cryptids that live in semi-tropical regions of the African continent, most notably in the Congo, Angola, and in the nation or area around Zambia. The name given to this creature by locals translates into the breaker or overturner of boats, as the Kongomados are said to capsize the canoes of the native people in the area and attack individuals who venture too close to nearby bodies of water.
So it sounds like it is very protective of these bodies of water, must be the feeding source for such a creature.
This creature is described as a reddish lizard with teeth in its beak, and its wingspan ranges from 4 to 100 feet across.
A reddish-like lizard, a wingspan of 4 to 10 feet across, and teeth in its beak. Yeah, that sounds about like a pterodactyl to me. I'll take that.
When shown a picture of a pterosaur, natives said that it was the picture of the Kongomato. The old accounts of these creatures are similar to those described in other parts of Africa, which are that of flying creatures similar to pterosaurs or pterodactyls. And unlike other types of creatures that are only seen by the indigenous population, this creature in particular has many detailed accounts by others who are not from a particular part of Africa.
And as much as I say it over and over in every episode, you really have to pay attention when you have case files coming in from different places and people who don't know each other but are reporting the same thing.
There are several historic reports of European explorers being attacked and even killed by large winged creatures, and quite often people report receiving wounds from this red monster. It is thought that it eats mostly fish, but occasionally will hunt humans. The Kongomato is also said to dig graves and steal human corpses, because in many parts of Africa, the burial of a human corpse is not very deep at all.
And of course, for a creature of that size, you would need a lot of food, which would make sense that it would be digging up graves and finding whatever food source it could when the food sources of the water were low, of course. But they've also got T-Rexes and Brontosauruses, I guess, to choose from too, right? There's a lot of creatures we've went over so far tonight that are just absolutely mind-boggling. And there's so much more to go, so much more of the Earth that we just don't know about yet. Even with the imaging satellites and everything that we have today, there's so much we can't see under the canopy of the trees. shows. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, like the music playing their shows, we've got to go ahead and take a network break right here. So we'll be back right after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Ow! And that howl means your weekend has just begun. Hi, everyone. It's AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's DarkWolf's Den Show? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den will return again tomorrow night, May 13th. Oh my goodness, Thursday the 13th of May. Jerry will be back to dive into the first annual DarkWolf's Den Radio Show birthday celebration. And you're invited tomorrow, Thursday, May 13th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Join in Jerry's birthday celebration. I can't wait. I'm super excited. Can you believe it? My goodness. I'm absolutely elated. I'm so excited. I can tell you what. I feel like baking a cake. I really do. I feel like baking a cake. Don't you? Jerry is a year old. Top hats off to you, Jerry. Congratulations. I can't wait for tomorrow night. I will return Friday, May 14th, with a look at small towns. We weren't able to do this last week because my mom had a coronary. But nevertheless, we're going to report on the small towns we traveled through as we're still on our road trip. We are 3,700 miles in, 15 states. We are currently coming to you live from Ripon, Wisconsin. It's pretty cool. Then Saturday night, antiquing. We've stopped at antique malls in small towns across the nation. We're going to talk about antiquing on Saturday. And then Sunday, we'll end out the weekend right with organization. Something that if you're going to be antiquing across the country, you definitely have to have a little bit of organization. I can't wait. It's an exciting weekend. Thank goodness it has already begun. We're going to return to Congo Cryptids, tonight's topic, for Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. You're listening to the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network. Now back to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show with your host, Jerry Hicks, the DarkWolf's Den.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Oz.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right. I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. If you're just joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the cryptids of the Congo. For those that don't know, my very first show was Cryptids, and tomorrow is our birthday anniversary show, so I figured tonight we would cover the cryptid topic in a different way, as kind of an homage to our first pilot episode. And we are, like I said, doing a twist on that and going into the Congo, because there's so much hidden in this world that we just haven't found yet. From underneath the sea to underneath the trees, there's so many things that are yet to be discovered. And apparently the natives are telling us stories about things that science says can't exist, things that science says went extinct hundreds of millions of years ago. Like what, you ask? Like the pterodactyl. That's right. We had a story in the first half of the pterodactyl. We had a story about a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the Congo. You heard that right. A Brontosaurus in the Congo. Something that resembles a overgrown Chupacabra. And now we've got a large elephant-sized creature once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give special thanks to our speaker tonight. Once again, the channel on YouTube called Paranormal Rising. I love this channel. Shameless plug. If you guys enjoy what we do here, check that channel out. It's somebody that I listen to every time they drop a video. And as you can tell from this episode, probably why I enjoy their work so much. So welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Our speaker this evening, Paranormal Rising, to tell us about the next elephant-sized creature, cryptid creature of the Congo.
The Amela Ntoka is an elephant-sized cryptid that is said to also live in the Congo and possibly Cameroon. And it is feared by natives as the so-called elephant killer.
It takes a lot of power to bring down something as big as a full-grown adult elephant.
It is a ferocious creature that is said to kill anything that it encounters. It is said to have brownish to gray skin with a very heavy tail. And because it is said to be the size of an elephant, it is believed to have the weight of around 6 tons. And is similar in appearance and shape to that of a modern-day rhinoceros. And this also includes having one long horn on its nose or snout. Supporting its massive, bulky body are 4 short, stumpy-like legs. It is described as having no frills or ridges along the neck. The animal is alleged to be semi-aquatic and feeds on malombo and other leafy plants. It is said to have a very weird kind of vocalization that sounds like it's snorting something, or perhaps some kind of a low growl or low rumble. It is said to resemble a ceratopsian, a type of dinosaur with a horn on its head or snout.
Think of something like a triceratops, if you will. And if you notice in our picture there on the splash screen on YouTube, we have a couple dinosaurs hidden within the trees.
The most famous of this is a triceratops, according to Dr. Roy Mackle, and his expeditions into the Congo and his alleged research on all of these types of creatures. However, other types of researchers claim that it is not some kind of a dinosaur that never went extinct, but rather an undiscovered aquatic rhinoceros rather than some kind of a descendant of the Triceratops.
I would like to note that even scientists admit that it could be something that is undiscovered, an aquatic rhinoceros nonetheless, but a rhinoceros species that is yet to be discovered, which would make them a cryptid.
It is rumored that back in 1930, an Amela Ntoka was supposedly killed near the city of Dongo in the Republic of the Congo.
However, there is no evidence that I could find to back up that rumor, nothing more than an anecdotal story, so take that little bit with a grain of salt.
The spiny-backed chimp is a bizarre creature that was seen in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and it is described in a short account that appears in Philip Coudre's self-illustrated book called Guide to Animals. And according to Coudre, a member of a unit from the United States Navy who wanted to remain anonymous, claimed that during a mission to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, sometime between 1997 and 2002, the unit's team encountered 13 bipedal chimpanzees that were attempting to kill another animal. Standing about 4.5 to 5 feet tall, they were uniformly gray in color, but by far the most distinctive feature was a series of spines running down each chimp's back, which stood up like a porcupine's quilts whenever the chimps became agitated.
That reminds me of a couple of the creatures that I've heard described in different parts of the world. A lot of dog-like creatures have had these spiny things coming out of its back. I know you guys have seen that picture around, but it's interesting. I've never heard of a gorilla with like that coming out of its back.
Kudre also states that the team actually shot a 3-minute video of these very unusual apes in action. However, the military team that took the tape had it removed from their possession by the U.S. government, and the tape, therefore, is not available to the public, and probably never will be.
And if you are surprised in any way that the U.S. government stepped in and took this tape, you haven't listened to this show very long. The U.S. government is great about grabbing evidence, any evidence that we can find in the public, and hiding it away somewhere, or probably just destroying it, knowing the government. But now we have come to the creepiest of all of the Congo cryptids, at least in my opinion. Yes, there's something creepier than dinosaurs in the Congo.
But probably one of the most frightening creatures to allegedly exist in the forest of the Congo is a giant spider known as the Jibafofi. According to locals, this giant arachnid is able to dig shallow tunnels under tree roots and camouflage it with large leaves from the forest. They are said to create almost an invisible web between their burrow and nearby trees, stringing the whole area with a network of trip lines.
A spider is scary enough. A giant spider is frightening. But a giant spider that's smart, that's downright terrifying.
Some unknowing and oblivious person would soon end up as dinner for this creature, with the trip line alerting the spider to anybody near its area. The victim would then be chased into the web. This type of predatory behavior is similar to that of several species of trapdoor spider, only this spider is much larger than anything that a regular person would ever encounter.
Okay, I find it really, really disturbing that some spiders have already gotten smart enough to use this very tactic. At least they only use it against smaller prey, but if this is true, then there's a spider out there giant enough to chase you into a web, catch you, and literally eat you. A human, something this big, a spider twice, like the spider in Harry Potter is what comes to mind, right?
One of the first sightings of this alleged creature took place in the year 1890 near Lake Nyassa, during which a British missionary named Arthur John Sims and his men came upon 2 of these enormous creatures.
Now, I'm not going to say that men of the cloth are infallible or that Christians are infallible or anything like that. I will say that it does add just a hair bit more credence when it comes from something like a reverend or a Christian opposed to, a practicing Christian, I should say, opposed to a random Joe, because Christians seem to take this vow to God a little more seriously than the random Joe, generally speaking, especially something like a reverend, right? Again, generally speaking.
The men got themselves entangled in a huge web, and the 2 spiders came out and were said to be between 2 and 4 feet in length, and were assumed to be male and female.
Okay, the fact that there's 2 of them is even creepier, because you only need 2 to reproduce, and I don't know about you guys, but I happen to know that spiders reproduce in the dozens and dozens and dozens and hundreds of eggs. Have you ever seen the movie Arachnophobia, for instance? But seriously, it only takes 2 spiders to create a whole lot real quickly. Now that's downright frightening, isn't it?
The spiders came from their web to attack the men. Sims was bitten, but managed to escape after shooting one of them with his pistol. He subsequently developed severe symptoms, which included chills and swelling around the area where he was bitten, and later became delirious before dropping unconscious. He ultimately died from the bite of that giant spider.
Okay, now I went from terrified to absolutely horrified. Not only are they giant spiders that are big enough to eat a man, but they're also venomous. This is just downright scary. But what's even scarier is this isn't the only account of this creature.
Probably one of the most detailed accounts comes from a cryptozoological book written by George Eberhardt. And in this book, he writes about a terrifying experience of an English couple traveling through the region of the jungle of what is now known as the Congo. In the book, he writes, R.K. Lloyd and his wife were motoring in the Belgian Congo in 1938 when they saw a large object crossing the trail in front of them.
So this thing has been spotted as late as 1938.
At first they thought that it was a cat or a monkey, but they soon realized that it was a spider with legs that was more than 3 feet long. Another cryptozoologist named William J. Gibson was on the hunt for other strange and mysterious creatures in the Congo, and on his third expedition there, he came across stories by natives relating their experiences with giant spiders, and he writes, "On this third expedition to equatorial Africa, I took the opportunity to inquire if the pygmies knew of such a giant spider, and indeed they did. They speak of the Jibafofi, which is a giant or great spider."
I have to give it up to this dude over here, Paranormal Rising. This guy has pronounced every one of these words pretty spot on. A lot better than I would do trying to pronounce these words, right? So credits where it's due. He has done a great job in pronunciation. But with that said, what's intriguing about this so far is the guy asked the indigenous peoples about the giant spider, and straight off, they knew exactly what he was talking about. Without question, they knew just what he was talking about. So that is interesting because, you know, the locals are going to know a lot more than anyone else, you know. They're the ones that are actually going to have these experiences. And they're the ones we need to listen to, honestly, a little more often in what they tell us and not just kind of brush it off as folklore or some kind of weird imagination complex, which I don't understand why they tried to explain anything like that. But, you know, scientism. But anyway, the pygmies knew exactly the creature, this giant, insane spider that he was asking about.
They described a spider that is generally brown in color with a purple mark on its abdomen. They grow to be quite an enormous size, with a leg span of at least 5 feet. The giant arachnids weave together a layer made of leaves similar in shape to a traditional pygmy hut, and spin a circular web, which is said to be very strong, between two trees with a strand stretched across a game trail. These giant ground-dwelling spiders prey on the diminutive forest antelope, birds, and other small game, and are said to be extremely dangerous, not to mention highly venomous. Gibson stated,
I don't know about you, this gives me chills, the creepy vibes right down the back.
The spiders are said to lay white peanut-sized eggs in a cluster, and the pygmies give them a wide berth when they are encountered, but they have killed them in the past. The giant spiders were once said to be very common, but are now a rare sight.
And thank God for that, right? But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that there is a lot in the Congo that perhaps we're yet to find? Do you think there may be dinosaurs that survived all this time under the cover of the canopy of the trees of the Congo? Do you think perhaps there are creatures out there that we're yet to find, species that are considered cryptids only because science has refused yet to acknowledge them? All you can do, ladies and gentlemen, in the end, is take a look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. we got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Darkwolf's Den Show for Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing for the evening, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right, tomorrow, Thursday, May 13th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, we have got the show of the year. That's right, because it is our 1-year anniversary party show, ladies and gentlemen. Such an amazing weekend this is. We are going to have our big celebration. A year ago tomorrow, our pilot episode aired here on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, and we have made it an entire year here doing the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show, and I cannot believe how lucky I am to have been able to do every single one of these shows every week with you guys. It is absolutely mind-blowing. We're going to celebrate that tomorrow, Thursday, May 13th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, right here on the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show on the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network. And speaking of Ripon Common Sense, our buddy AJ the Ripon Rabbit will be back on Friday, May 14th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with an episode that was supposed to happen last week, but because we had a little bit of a technical error, one of the episodes was missed, and we had to move one along to this weekend. Which one is that? That would be the Small Towns episode. That's right, AJ has traveled across this country and is going to give us a report of the amazing small towns that he's run into on his amazing journey. And I, for one, cannot wait to hear it. Then on Saturday, May 15th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ the Ripon Rabbit's going to come back to the airwaves once again for an all-new episode on antiquing. That's right, you heard that, antiquing. I don't know about it. It's not one of the things that I enjoy, but I do know people that do. If it's something that you enjoy, make sure you tune in on Saturday, May 15th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows here on the network start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Sunday, May 16th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Come back one more time as AJ the Ripon Rabbit takes to the airwaves for one more episode to round out the weekend right with the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. He is going to be talking Sunday about organization. Organization is actually very important. We like to be organized in our lives, right? I am really bad about organization myself. I have piles of stuff, but I know where they are, right? I know what's in the piles. So to me, it has an organization, right? Well, if you're interested in that, and maybe he'll even go over certain types of organizations, right? I don't know. You're going to have to tune in Sunday, May 16th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for a Ripon Rabbit Hole live show with AJ the Ripon Rabbit on the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network and RiponRabbitHole.com. Speaking of the RiponRabbitHole.com, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hop on over there and sign up for our mail list. That's right, you're going to get an email every week, once a week, with all the topics we're going to be covering all week long that you can share out with everyone you know and let them know to come on over to the Ripon Rabbit Hole. That's right. Also, one of the benefits for signing up for that Backstage Pass is the ability to not only drop down the rabbit hole and enjoy our exclusive social media over there, but also the ability to join us in the 24/7 Backstage Lounge, which is exactly where I'm going to go right after the show here in just a couple minutes and hang out with the rest of the rabbits. It's actually my favorite place to hang out. You can find me there almost every single night of the week. We get a lot done. We do a lot of brainstorming, a lot of talking. A lot of the ideas for this show come out of the Backstage Lounge. A lot of great conversation internationally from people that are just so much fun to hang out with, from JoJo's and Nachiketa and My Life DIY and Sandy B and CSN, and I appreciate all you guys hanging out over there. And if you want to hang out with us, come on over to the 24/7 Backstage Lounge at the RiponRabbitHole.com. That is RiponRabbitHole.com. DarkWolf's.com. That's right. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, everyone at Rippin' Common Sense Radio, also Walt House, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Tom Baillies, and the amazing funky music we're listening to right now. Hit it, Tom. Oh, I love it. Getting it down, Tom. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all these folks, as well as our YouTube moderators and everyone who's helped to put this show together, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. How? Yeah. Good night, everybody. Tell him bye, Tom.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.